Hey everyone, it's Jen with Freedom Fighters, Spirited Saturdays. Okay. And this week we're talking about eating disorders and autism slash Asperger's or any kind of learning difficulty. I want to just say real quick that I'm having a little trouble making this video because I'm just not in the best place right now. Basically just hormonal, but that could be pretty bad. But it's not catastrophic, but I'm just not, I'm not feeling great, and I'm not inclined so much to have a YouTube presence tonight. So I had to challenge myself to make this video because I think the topic is really important, and it's a unique opportunity to explore that. So I just tried making this video a few times. One time the sound didn't work and I recorded like 14 minutes. So the other time I sneezed twice and exposed pieces of myself I don't want anyone to see. And yeah, I guess that's basically it. So this has got to be the last try, but I'm going to try to do it like it's the first, so I don't want to So here we go. So there are several things I want to address about eating disorders and autism, learning difficulties. One thing, actually, I should start with this. When I was growing up, and I even experience this today sometimes, I was never diagnosed with a learning disability, but my anxiety was so severe that it showed itself often in ways that you might think I had a learning disability. Like I have lived most of my life feeling or fearing that I would come off as incompetent, and I feel like this isn't on. Okay, this is on. See, speaking of no, that was not even an example of that. Yeah, I've definitely been in like school situations, even when I was very young, and work situations where my biggest fear was that I would come off as incompetent, and often I ended up creating that. Not really, I don't think people really thought I was incompetent, but I probably didn't perform to the best of my ability because I was so anxious, and I just let the fear of judgment make me more anxious, and therefore feel more incompetent and judge myself, and really just want to like cower in a corner and feel just like I didn't want to have a presence there. So I do feel like a lot of this is about like if you have, so like I said, I was not actually diagnosed with a learning disability, but I could understand how the judgment of people around you could affect how you feel about yourself. And then if you have healthy people around you, a healthy environment, one that encourages you from the time you're very little, as soon as you could start talking, or as soon as you could do anything, as soon as you can learn to crawl, anything. I think it's really important for people to encourage, and however way they can, a sense of autonomy in people. And so if you have a learning disability, your limits are just going to be a little different, but it doesn't mean that anybody should ever be made to feel less autonomous, less independent, less free to make choices. It just depends on what spectrum you're working within. That can be clearly defined for you, and it never has to be a source of judgment. So if you're brought up with that attitude of this is your set of, I don't even want to say limits, but I'll say it in the context of everybody has limits. So these are mine, okay, just like that person has her limits, and I'm going to work within my limits. I'm going to work within my framework. But not only that, I'm going to do whatever I can to challenge those limits and not even necessarily see them as limits. Like, I might want to go and try to break through them, you know? And so maybe I think that a sense of accepting and acknowledging where a person is at while constantly fostering a sense of independence and a sense of risk-taking and creativity and confidence building in that person is so vital to that person's development and self-esteem, because they might have autism and they might never develop an eating disorder, but the thing is, like, sometimes the certain qualities in eating disorders and autism can overlap, like that like rigidity, that uber like focus, but then that sense that you just can't focus, but you're trying to focus, like tunnel, kind of narrow vision, preoccupation, ritualistic behaviors and thoughts. But the eating disorder comes from a place of low self-esteem, insecurity, self-doubt, and the autism is a developmental thing. So those those traits can exist in either eating disorders or autism. But if somebody is autistic and they're not encouraged, you know, and they're doubted a lot, then they might start to feel a sense of shame, and then they might use the traits that are already inherent in the autism to, you know, and they might project those traits onto something self-destructive like an eating disorder. You know, I knew somebody with Asperger's who also had an eating disorder. I didn't know her too well, but and we never really talked about the two of them coexisting. So I can't really expand on that. But I also made a video recently about, well, in my own channel, about the book Maggie Goes on a Diet, which is about a 14-year-old girl who goes on a diet because she starts out overweight and unpopular and has no friends and low self-esteem. And by the time the book is over, she basically she loses weight through dieting and then becomes popular and is on the soccer team and can fit into a dress that she wants to fit into. And an interesting outlook on this book. Now, obviously, I made the video with every intention of saying this was not a good book, not a good message to instill in kids, that you have to be thin to be liked or accepted. But I did get a comment from a mother saying that her daughter was autistic and would benefit from the book's black and white mentality. And would benefit from the black and white mentality of the dieting world. I know I get what she's saying. I don't think this book is the way to go about doing that. I don't think instilling a message of you need to be thin to be accepted should accompany a perhaps healthy sense of black and white thinking that might help make a kid want to be healthier. I think those are really two different issues. So that was it was kind of eye-opening for me, though, because it's true, in eating disorders we see black and white thinking as bad, and maybe for some autistic people black and white thinking is what they are working within. That's their framework that they're working within. So they might not attach this other value judgment to it. We see it as, well, it's healthy to develop a gray area, be flexible, all that. But some people might see it as, like, this is the way we operate. And not operate, that sounds way too mechanical. But anyway, that is, like, I'm sorry, the black and white thinking for her, if managed well, if the mother instilled it in such a way that, you know, was only promoting health, was not promoting like health equals a certain body size and health equals only certain kinds of food, you know, if it was black and white thinking in that, like, you're like, I don't know what it would be. It's hard to say because how could you really go about how could you go about instilling a sense of black and white thinking when it comes to food, and not and then not have the kid think that it's either all healthy food or all not good food. How could you do that? I don't know. So I guess I don't have a real answer to that question, and I don't have a real view on it yet. I should talk to this person more and see where she's going with this, but it's an interesting perspective nonetheless. I guess finally I just want to say that, you know, it, like I was saying before, it depends. Like, a person might not develop a value judgment of themselves if they're brought up with a sense of autonomy. I think that's the main point that I want to stress here. And I think that could come in terms of just even when you're very young, just like you're at the grocery store and your mom lets you pick out something, or like asks you to hand the nice cashier the dollar bill or whatever, like little things like that that can help you feel purposeful and like you know what you're doing and proud to have this sense of independence. And, you know, I think also encouraging you to think outside the box, you know, will foster a sense of self-worth, and, you know, and just the reinforcing that the autism is it's just a condition. It's not like it can, like, this is what we've got to work with, and we're going to work with it. Like, I don't think there ever needs to be, like, there doesn't have to be pity. Like, there can be a huge buttload of empathy, for sure. Empathy is great across the board, but no special treatment, like to the point where the kid feels like there's something wrong with me, I'm getting weird treatment here. I always have to slip this in. I am always a huge advocate of the creative therapies. So that's one way of instilling a sense of freedom and independence. In my music therapy class, I've seen videos about with music therapy working for autistic children and helping them develop as much as they're capable of developing past the point that parents had ever seen them develop, you know. So that really is very huge. It's very effective, and it is a way to foster a sense of self-esteem, a healthy self-esteem. So I think also encouraging that person's sensitivity. I think autistic kids, especially, well, autistic people, I guess in general, have they are very sensitive. So that could, if cultivated, I mean, that could be a gift. It definitely doesn't need to be a bad thing at all. It could be a gift, and it doesn't ever have to turn into a catalyst for a problem such as an eating disorder that might come about from low self-esteem or using those autistic traits in a destructive way, you know. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about autism, eating disorders, and I hope that you found this helpful. Okay, thanks.